Never get so carried away by the calling and the cross of someone else that you forget to bear your own. Never get too engrossed in the cross or the glory of someone else's calling that you forget to bear your own. And this is something that we see a lot of times, especially regarding Christians. It's great that you have people that you admire. It's great that you have people that you follow. It's great that you have people that you look up to. But you never want to put yourself in a situation whereby you completely neglect your own calling and you just begin to tread the path of someone else's in hopes that their glory will become your own, or in hopes that you will reflect their glory, or I can't even understand. And this is something that's very, very, very this is something that is very, very prevalent, particularly in the church. And it's not new. It's not new. It's something that it's a model that was meant to be for a moment, but it's not something that should be abused. One thing I know about calling is the fact that callings integrate with one another. At some point, someone else's calling will integrate with your own, and for a brief moment, you two will have to work with one another. You two will have to work with one another. But here is the thing: it's always temporary. It's never a for life thing. And this is one thing we see even with Jesus when he was choosing his 12 disciples. At some point, he said, "You follow me, you follow me, you follow me." But notice the notice the interesting part. When he got to the peak of it, only one out of the 12 stood with him. They all left. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say in your walk with God, in our walk with God, particularly as a church, particularly as in ministry, in missionary stuff, or whatever it is, if you find yourself being attached to somebody, you want to be careful that you don't want to follow them in their own path that God has not called you to follow them in. And it's very clear, it's very, very clear. We see in the New Testament with Paul and Barnabas, after a while, they separated. They identified that their moments together had ended and they separated. Jesus Christ told Peter himself, a day will come, we will not be together. He told him, a day will come, they will wear clothes for you that you don't want to wear, they will take you out. He was saying that now you are with me, but tomorrow you won't be with me. And I think this is something that we really need to understand as a model. Like, we really need to get this. We really need to understand this, because I see a lot of people living lives that they have no business living. I see a lot of people getting themselves into situations or into journeys or into business that's not theirs. And here's the thing: no matter how far you follow somebody into their own path, eventually you come to realize that that path was not meant for you. You had your own that you ignored. And here's the thing: no matter how long you follow them, you would always return back to the path, to the point. You always return to your own path at the point you abandoned it after all that time has been wasted. Please pardon me if I'm sweating. Do you understand what I'm saying? So take an examination of yourself. I get that you have people you idolize. I get that you have people that you are awed by. I get that you have people who you just want to follow. Yes. But guess what? Everybody will carry his own cross. Everybody in workspace, we call it KPI. We call it KPI. Everybody has their own KPI here on earth. You're not going to answer the KPI of another person. Everybody will carry their cross. Everybody will bear their own responsibility. And you have to, and this is one thing, and I'm just going to say it. Some people are so scared of facing their own cross, facing their own path, that they bury themselves into the lives and the calling of other people. You have to wake up. We have to wake up. And if you are somebody who you are noticing people around you, and yes, there was a moment when you guys had to do things together, your paths align in that moment. It's like it's intersectional. It crossed in that moment. In graph, they call it meeting points, that kind of thing. And here's the beautiful part: sometimes it cross, you guys meet, and to meet again in the future. It's beautiful like that. I was seeing this picture of Daddy Adeboye and Daddy Oyedepo, about how they were in their early ministries and them now. At one point, their callings were intertwined. They separated. They had to come back. That's the beautiful part of it. And it doesn't have to be fights. It doesn't have to be, oh, you left me. This person left me. No, everybody has their own destiny. Everybody has their own path to live. You have yours. I have mine. Everybody has theirs. And at some point, our paths intercross. I have people that, up until this point, I thank God that because here's the thing, God's strategies, man. God uses men for people. He uses men for themselves. God uses men for people. Like he uses men. At some point, I've had people help me. And at some point, I've helped a lot of people that God instructed me to help, regard their calling. That's the beauty of it. But you don't now see me abandoning my own life and just following them, following that person. This is something that we need to talk more in details of, but it's just something that I just want to, touch on. It's just something that has been imprinted on my heart. There are a lot of people, a lot of Christians have abandoned their own cross and they are following other people in carrying theirs when they have their own cross to carry. And an interesting thing, an interesting point that we just have to bring out is the fact that we are talking about following people in their own paths, following people in their own, following people carry their cross when that's not meant to be. But how can you know? How can you walk on your own? How can you tread your own path? How can you carry your own cross? How can you fulfill your own calling when you don't even have a revelation of it? And this is why I think a lot of people do this, because if you tell them, okay, focus on yourself, focus on your life, focus on your cross, there's nothing for them to focus on. So it's like, I would rather just attach myself to this person who is carrying their cross and just give myself meaning through that. But it's like, that's not an excuse. If you lack revelation, that's your responsibility. And I think that's one thing Jesus Christ was saying. I think Matthew 7, when he said, knock and the door shall be opened for you, seek and you shall find. Meaning, if you seek revelation on your calling, you will find it. But I think we like to attach that verse to blessings and prosperity and breakthrough, which it can be applied, yes, but if you seek your calling here on earth, if you diligently seek the reason why you exist on it, if you seek out your role in this particular season of your life, of your calling, you will find it. But here's the thing: we're not open to finding or seeing whatever it is that it is the reality. So rather than confront that reality, we would bury ourselves in fantasy and in dreamland. And for how long? How long before a more brutal reality snatches us and wakes us up? It's very important. This is very, very important. A lot of people do this. A lot of Christians do this. And the crazy part is, they don't even know they are doing it. Some know they are doing it, but they see nothing wrong in it. There's this hymn we sing in Celestia that everybody will stand at the judgment day. Everybody, old, young, everybody will stand for themselves. They're not going to stand on behalf of somebody. As much as my father loves me, he's not going to stand for me. As much as my shepherd loves me, he's not going to stand for me. I will stand for myself. And I'll tell him, okay, God, based on my calling, this is what I did with it. Based on my mission on it, this is what I did with it. Regardless of it was intertwined with people, but at the end of the day, it's like your KPI, your main goal, did you achieve it? How far did you achieve it? And a very interesting narrative that is coming up to me now is John the Baptist and Jesus. There's a teaching I taught on I don't know the teaching. I'll link the teaching in the comments when I post this video about how two characters in the Bible. Why did John the Baptist doubt Jesus? Go and check out that podcast out, that teaching here. You will see how two characters can be linked together, and yet their missions are so different. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. John the Baptist, his sole mission was to announce Christ, was to make the way, was to, you know, create a revival culture in the hearts of the Jews that can welcome the good news. But guess what? As closely as their callings were, they did not always see eye to eye, and they got to a point they had to separate. Where Jesus Christ had to tell him, "Blessed is he who is not offended because of me." Meaning, from this point onwards, John, the way we are going to do this thing is different, and it's okay. John the Baptist said he didn't always agree. But John did not say, "Oh, well, let me just be following." John did not follow Jesus. Jesus did not follow John. They worked respectively in their own paths, all for the glory of God. I think we need to bring that model back. And this, and yet people, when you bring this up, people will say, "Oh, follow me as I follow Christ." And it's like, yeah, but it's only temporary. It's for a while. It's for a while, yes. Follow me as I follow Christ. Yeah. But it's for a while. Eventually, you have to know God for yourself. You have to follow your own path. You have to fulfill your own destiny. Your own scripts in heaven. You have to fulfill it. Now, how far are you in doing that? How far am I in doing that? It's just something that we need to think about. And think about very deeply and be very honest with ourselves. Have we neglected our own calling? Or have we been distracted with the callings of other people? As much as disciples love themselves, where was where was where was James? Where was James when Peter was being crucified upside down? Where was John when Andrew was being dragged by horses? Where was where were the rest of the disciples when Thomas was being sawn in half in India? Where were the rest of the disciples when John was alone on the island of Patmos? You get what I'm saying? No matter how much you are together, eventually there is a separation. But guess what? That's the beautiful part of it. It's not forever. It's temporary. Sometimes it's forever. It's permanent on earth. But eventually we'll still link up in heaven again. And sometimes we'll still link up here on earth. But you have to be able to understand where your timing together with a co-laborer in the kingdom of God, in the vineyard, is over. You need to understand that. If not, both of you will waste your time.